Don't be the person that ever looks back on their life and never did it. Take that first step.
Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Wild Business Growth Podcast. This is your place to hear from a new entrepreneur every single Wednesday morning who's turning wild ideas into wild growth. I'm your host, Max Brandstetter, founder and podcast producer at Max Podcasting. And you can email me at max@maxpodcasting.com to save time with your high-quality podcast. This is episode 226, and today's guest is Justin Kittredge. He is the president, CEO, and janitor at ISlide, who creates super customizable, just awesome looking, comfortable slides or sandals or flip-flops, whatever you want to call them. He has a crazy cool story, and in this episode, we talk mass customization, setting Guinness World Records, and his partnership with DJ Khaled, who lit up Snapchat with the iSlides. It is JK. Enjoy the show. Alrighty, we are here with Justin Kittredge, the founder, CEO, and janitor. That's a new title of iSlide. Really, really cool, custom, super creative journey. Justin, super excited to speak with you today. Thanks so much for joining. How you doing?
I'm good. Good to be here.
Of course. And I know it's really just a true bummer to be here. So appreciate you, feigning it for everybody. But really excited to get into your entrepreneurship story and everything in like the world of sports and business and beyond. And slides or sandals, as flip-flops, as some kids say or used to say. But before that, you at one point had some Guinness World Records for free throws. How in the world?
A lot of time on my hands, I think, more than anything was the reason for that. So I was at Reebok at the time. We had a basketball court there, and always been a big basketball guy, but randomly just kind of was looking. I think it was at like the NBA All-Star game. I saw a couple of guys attempt some blindfolded free throws, and I was like, well, I could definitely beat that. And then I realized it took me a little bit of extra time to do it. Every day, mostly after work, a couple of guys and me at work would just do it. And then I broke it without the camera on. I shut it off by accident. So we had to use the Reebok security footage. We had to go to the security area and ask them for the footage for it and submitted it, and we got it.
What was that actual record, like the first one you set?
So the first one was most blindfolded free throws in 1 minute. And then it was most blindfolded free throws in 2 minutes. And then it was just most free throws made in 1 minute. I had it, I don't know, for probably a few months before some guy came up with a contraption to be able to like get, I think, more shots up and just like blew it out of the water.
I mean, I'm just exhausted and like my whole body is sore from thinking of that many free throws in 1 minute. I mean, that's impressive. That's like, you could have, in another life, you could have been like a halftime performer at somewhere like NBA games, just doing boom, 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 boom.
Definitely belong in a circus somewhere. I'm not sure 100% where, but
that's a good place to be. And then basketball actually had a huge part in you getting your foot in the door, pun intended, at Reebok in the first place. Can you share that crazy story?
I mean, I just did landscaping my whole life, and then I kind of got into the restaurant world a little bit and became a bartender, bar back. And then I eventually became like, I guess, a junior in college. And I was like, well, I got to get some sort of business under my belt right now. There was, I was looking at in an internship book just around Boston and what was around. And for some reason, I got connected with them and had an interview there. And then I read about Reebok where you could actually play hoops at lunch every day. And I loved that. I was like, I know much about the footwear industry, but I said, that sounds fun. And so I got an interview with them, and I was talking with more of like the marketing guy, but I never did anything with marketing. And so I was talking with the head of kind of the US marketing team, and he was asking me all these questions. And finally, he basically just said, he was like, why would I ever hire you? You are a hotel restaurant management major. You have no marketing. And I kind of gave the whole like, I'll be the first one in the office. I'll be the last one to leave. I'll be hardworking, whatever you need. And like he just was shaking his head. He really didn't want to hire me. And then like I think he just kind of ran out of steam and just said, "Well, I see that you played hoops a little bit. We have an intramural game tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. and we're down a guy. Like, do you want to come and play in it?" And I was like, "Sure." And so I went and played. I pretty much had the game of my life. After the intramural game that we won, he offered me the internship. That was my foot in the door for that summer.
That is out of this world. That is something from like the movie Gladiator. It's like you got to fight for your life, fight for your foot in the door. I can't believe that happened. But also, I mean, it makes sense that it's at like a sports apparel focused company that did happen. But good thing you had the game of your life there. Did you feel any sort of pressure while you were playing that game?
I don't know. I guess not really. I mean, I felt that I had a good chance to have a good game. Most everybody was about 20 years older than me. And I was like probably in my prime, which isn't even that good, but at least in my prime. So I don't know. I had like a little bit of pressure, but it was just fun to kind of be out there, and I think I got along with almost everybody. There was one guy on our team who I guess I didn't pass to that much, and I think he took offense to it for the next 20 years. But other than that, I got along with everybody else on the court, and I think that was mostly what this guy was looking for. He was looking for someone that would come in, work hard, and that like he just wanted to be around, and not somebody who'd get annoyed with too often. So I think that was a big part of it as well.
And I am that guy who you didn't pass the ball to. So surprise, this is like an episode of Punked. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
And fast forward, you end up getting full time offer at Reebok. Had a great experience there. A couple different stints. Obviously, some ups and downs with any role. But what was the most important thing you learned at Reebok that, looking forward to your entrepreneurship journey, you think helped you out?
I mean, it had to be just getting laid off was like the most important thing. If it was something that I learned, I mean, it was something that, you kind of heard my background a little bit where it was, landscaping and bartending and bar backing. And in that whole world, there was not really layoffs that ever happened. So without really ever being in business, I didn't really know anything about even what layoffs were or downsizing or and so as I kind of started my journey over the first few years at Reebok, I kind of moved up pretty quickly just within a few promotions and just worked really hard. Just like, I think I was a very, very hard worker from the beginning. And so the thought of a company not wanting me for someone who works so hard just wasn't even ever, in my brain. And so in '04, there was downsizing happening. There was all these kind of talks about it and rumors happening. And I never really thought twice about it. The only part that I kind of thought about was that I just did get moved to a new area with a new team. And, there was two of us that got moved over. And, the other guy that got moved over was a veteran. He was at Reebok for a long time and kind of, really knew everybody. I was more of like the new kid. And so I still didn't really think too much of it. And when it happened, I was just like completely like just blown out of the water, like angry and sad and like frustrated. And it was just like every emotion. And it was kind of at that time when I fully realized that like at a company like Reebok, you have no control in your destiny. Like it's going to be based off of somebody else. And I knew that one day I never wanted to do that. I never wanted to be able to have that type of power in other people's hands. And I got offered, it was funny, I got offered a job back at Reebok a week later in a different area of the business, but I wasn't even close to ready to go back. So I said no. I mean, I pretty much went to Vegas the next day after I got laid off for like almost a week just to enjoy myself. And then I ended up having 4 months of severance. And On the day that my severance came up, I actually got an offer to go back to Reebok again, but as a promotion again, which was very strange, or to go to a smaller company of about 50 people in the footwear world. And I still wasn't ready to go back to Reebok, so I chose a smaller company.
So let's slide our way to ISlide. Let's actually I slide our way to ISlide. And you mentioned that like so many entrepreneurs, it was really appealing for you to control your own destiny and be your own boss and not be part of like a huge kind of corporate system. And that's one of the parts that has always appealed to me so much about starting a company as well. But with iSlide, so you had some background in the sports space, you had some background in the apparel and footwear space. But what was it about slides or sandals, flip flops, whatever you want to call them, that kind of called your name as, oh, this would be a fun business to get into?
I was at the point where I was ready to kind of go start something because Reebok kind of downgraded its focus on basketball. And so if I was director of basketball all the time, and so if that wasn't going to be the future of the brand, it was time to I knew it was time to kind of move on. And so I just started doing research, and slide was something I was always interested in, and custom, it was something I was always interested in. And so I started doing research on what's out there for custom slides, and there really wasn't much. The big companies didn't do it. They didn't want to do it. I just knew that for being at a big company. And then the other slides that were custom out there were just super cheap, high minimums, long lead times. And I was like, all right, well, there's something here. And then with slides in general, they were growing 25% every year for the last 3 years. So there was definitely an opportunity that I saw right then. And as I'm kind of made my way out of leaving Reebok and starting iSlide, I think that was the vision. That was the kind of the time when I realized, all right, if I'm going to try something, now is the time. And more importantly, I think this is the idea. I think I always felt custom was going to be the future. And I just felt like this was a really nice niche that nobody was really doing.
And there's multiple components here. I mean, there's the actual slides, and then there's the whole customizable aspect of it, which is a huge part and differentiator for your business. Let's talk slides first. What went into getting those actual slides, like the actual material and a product that you were happy with?
I mean, luckily I had relationships overseas in Asia. And so I immediately just called them and started it off. So luckily a slide isn't a running shoe or a basketball shoe where it's, very complex. It's actually very, very simple.
I was planning to run the New York Marathon in slides, actually. I think that would be entertaining. No, probably not recommended for
As you should. I would give you a free pair if you wanted to run the New York Marathon.
Thank you. That's very selfless.
I kind of knew at that time where slides were simple, but obviously they are footwear. So it is complex because you do need to open molds and you need to open sizes, and that part can be expensive. But luckily I just had those relationships, and I knew that I wanted to make the slide kind of somewhat generic looking. I didn't want to have it be crazy looking because I wanted it to be, fairly commercial. But I knew I wanted to be very comfortable. And I think so that the footbed was super important to me. Having an adjustable strap was super important. And then obviously the key component for us was going to be custom. And so, if you can combine super comfortable with custom, then we were going to have something kind of pretty special. And, by going into having those relations, we were able to move very quickly because of my background in kind of development and marketing and the relationships overseas. We were able to move very quickly because of that.
In the custom aspect, this is just create anybody who is learn anything about making products is it's all about what you can do at scale, what you can do to have the products as similar as possible to each other. Where can you find efficiencies? And you're in a business where, yes, there are some logos and things that you are have licenses for or license out. I always mix that up. There are some logos and designs that you do a lot of them. Sorry to say do. I'm like a 3-year-old, but there's also a totally custom aspect to what you do. And a custom is one thing, but like custom at scale is a whole really interesting problem slash challenge slash differentiator for you. How did you start to get into this customizing space?
Well, that was probably like me being insanely naive because I felt that I had the good idea, but I really had and it didn't hit me that I should figure out how to customize before I left my old job. That was stupid. But I think at the end of the day, like we're like, all right, we just got to figure it out. And we got to talk to people and we got to go visit places and we just need to figure it out. And the first way we did it wasn't good, but at least got us off the ground. And so that was probably the biggest part about it was like at that point, it was either do I go back to the corporate world because I can't figure this out or we figure it out. And I think that's probably the biggest defining moment was like, listen, there's no turning back at this time. I've kind of shared with friends and family and everyone that I'm going off in this venture. And I'm not going to like 3 months later just say, it didn't work out. So we just figured it out, to be honest with you. It was like, mass customization on an individual scale was a key kind of driving strategy for us. We knew it was going to be difficult, but we also knew that because it was going to be difficult, because it was going to be labor intensive, it was going to be a great barrier for others to want to enter our space. And so that's what our driving force was just to kind of be as efficient as possible with every day, every week, just trying to get better and better and better with it and not share any of those secrets with anybody because let's let them kind of come in and do it on their own.
You mentioned mass customization at scale. Is that a play on words? Is that a reference to Massachusetts?
No, it's a play on words. Just some investor just was talking about like, he felt that was like the future just in general of a lot of different things. And so I kind of just copied it and just said, this is exactly what we're doing. And this is, it was nice to hear somebody else kind of just say it in a much more sophisticated way than I did.
And how did I know you have a proprietary technology or system, whatever you want to call it, to provide this mass customization at scale? You don't have to reveal all your tricks. We'll keep it a little secret, but I'm someone who my first ever job, like summer job in high school, was as a t-shirt printer and, like the screen printers. I'm curious, is it anything close to that, like ink transfer, like screen printing like that, or you have something totally different?
Totally different.
And I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you. Yeah. How about so once you started getting established, how did you start to get the attention of some of these bigger names, like celebrities, like rappers, singers, athletes? Like you have some incredible, if you want to call them influencers, but it's kind of overused. You have some incredible people in like the public space that you partner with. How's it been, getting their attention and partnering with them?
A couple I knew just from past workings with them, but a lot just came from kind of what we do. The customization element of what we do just allows us to be able to work with a lot of different people because we're focusing on them and we're not focusing on us. And I think we realized that at a very early stage that it is about them, not about us. And some people would think that's kind of a backwards way of thinking. And sometimes it does backfire on us because nobody knows who we are. But I think the more that people see our silhouette with various athletes and celebs, the more that they'll know, oh, that's an ISlide. And I think that was really the thinking behind all of it as we continued to grow over time. And some of it just came in different elements. But the biggest one was probably working with Khaled. That was probably the biggest way that we got out there because he just got on fire. And then when he did, he bought slides for all of his friends. And luckily for us, all of his friends were very, very influential people in the world.
Yeah, I remember that. I mean, when Snapchat started getting really big, he was like the biggest person to follow on Snapchat, and quite the character, very entertaining, and obviously a hugely successful person. But he, literally he would do that thing every morning where he'd like walk downstairs to his house or take his elevator or whatever. And it would be like the view of his feet walking and his slides going left and right. And he's like, let's see what food we got today. And it was like literally looking at his slides on the ground. So that's that's awesome that you had such a big part of that. I mean, because he commanded. So I mean, he still does, but especially at the time when it was like the only one doing it, like he commanded so much attention on Snapchat at the time. That he's a good guy to partner with there.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to tell you it was like on strategy, but it wasn't. It was just kind of lucky. Honestly, it was just kind of lucky. I mean, we had a friend of ours who kind of just said, "Hey, I got a buddy down in Miami who loves slides and wears slides all the time. Or you should send him a pair." And so we did. And he was like, "Hey, he loves them. He wants to put them on a store, and he's about to like launch this online store in a couple of weeks." And we're like, "Yeah, cool. Like, sounds good." Because we do that with a lot of different people, and it's very easy to do to have somebody kind of create their own slide and now sock almost brand. We create a link, and then there's nothing they got to do. All they got to do is push it out, and then we fulfill every order, ship it directly to the customer. So it's a super easy concept. They love that. We were going to launch with him in a couple of weeks, and then about a week goes by, and he gets lost on his jet ski in the middle of the night, puts it all on Snapchat, goes viral, and then all he was going to sell on his site was going to be T-shirts and slides. That's all it was going to be. And so he just posted organically about his T-shirts and slides every single moment of every day. And mostly it was about the slides. It wasn't even mostly about the T-shirts. And like it was so organic and authentic that like you could never pay anybody to do what he did because it was just who he was as a person. It was incredible. Like it was just something that he just went crazy over the next week. He launches the store. We still only thought he was only going to sell 5 or 10 of these things in the first few weeks. And we ended up getting 800 on the first day. And then it averaged about 5 to 700 a day for like 3 months. Our printers we went 24/7. Like we literally just couldn't stop like printing. It was insane. It was literally like the most out of my entire like 23-year footwear career. It was the craziest thing I've ever been a part of.
That's a very fun thing to be a part of. If you would have reached out to me, I would have found a jet ski and got lost and tried to go viral and
I
sell.
know. I wish we did.
Yeah, we really missed the opportunity that we could have had double that success. No, but that's a really really cool partnership. When you look at the ISlide journey overall so far, what would you say has been the biggest challenge with the company that you've had to overcome?
Honestly, I think growing the business through COVID, growing the business, like the strategy, the maneuvering, the pivots, everything throughout COVID was really hard. I mean, I think in the first year in 2020, we had an incredible year, but it was mainly because of one of our partners, Fanatics. They poured so many millions of dollars into their marketing because everybody was home, everybody was buying from home. And, they had a record year. Because of that, we had a record year. But most of other businesses didn't do great. Our own website did well, but, one of our biggest businesses selling directly to teams. So like pro teams, college teams, and youth teams of all sports, and no one was playing. So it was like that business went to zero. And so just trying to maneuver like the strategy of where we were going and, kind of just dealing with employees. We had to furlough a couple people. I think it was like 5 people. Luckily, we brought them all back maybe like a month later. So that was like a very proud moment that we had, that we wasn't like a permanent layoff or anything like that. We had in my opinion, a great culture. We were in the office all the time. We had great energy, great brainstorming, great, kind of great dialogues. And then we weren't, and we had to learn like that. And I think being a small company, I think that hurt us a lot. And I don't know if, I think that was a very hard thing to know if we did it right or not, but I think we did a lot of things right, but I think we also did a lot of things that, you know, I think we could have done a better job with as well.
So let's switch gears a little bit, but kind of stay on the same gear as well. I'm throwing all sorts of things at you, but let's get to inspiration, creativity. So this is more about you on, the personal side and as like the business leader side. First of all, where did the title janitor come from?
It started off like it was on day one. That was like I honestly just came up with it because it was gonna be the like a little bit of the ethos of ISlide was like I am no better than anybody else. It was me, and I had an intern co-op at Reebok, and I asked him after that was over, I'm going to start a new company. Do you want to come with me and do your next co-op with me? And he was like, "Yep, sure, let's do it." That was a big part. I'm no bigger, no better than anybody else. I'll take the trash out. I'll mop. I'll do whatever we got to do just to like we're gonna do this thing together from the beginning. It was the way that we started, and it was the way that we can get everybody to buy in. And if they didn't buy into that culture, they didn't fit and they didn't belong. And I think one of the best advice I ever got was hire slowly, fire quickly. And so if someone didn't belong to our culture with that mentality, we didn't care how smart they were or MBAs or any of that. We had to get rid of them immediately. And luckily, like we didn't have to for a long time. Like it wasn't just me, but it was everybody in the company at that time. They had the same exact mentality. And because of that, if anybody came in with a different one, they got even more upset than I did, which was the greatest feeling in the world when you can have that. And I think that was a huge part of us getting just great people right from the start.
In that culture, I mean, it's one thing to, I mean, it's hard as hell to even create that in the first place. But once you have that established, how do you continue to, build on and instill a great culture year after year?
I think it's something that I like have really struggled with over COVID was probably like that piece that I was just talking about a little bit, but like where it has gone from the beginning, it has been we have to be much more of an accountability type of company. And that's like our culture comes from goal setting and just like kind of proper accountability. Like let's celebrate wins and let's talk about and discuss losses and try to get better from those losses. And we got away from that over the last couple of years, and we're now very much is a priority to get back into the accountability side of things. And I think if you have a very accountable type of culture, that's going to lead to wins, it's going to lead to successes, and that's going to lead to overall like a great company because you are keeping people very accountable. And I think, by doing that, you're doing it not only for yourself, but you're doing it for the greater good of the company. And that goes a very long way into like the growth of our company as well.
And outside your company, what do you do? If you can ever slide out any free time, what is your favorite way to, unplug, unwind a little bit?
Well, I try to work out almost every morning. So I do that around 5:30, quarter of 6 every morning. That's a big part of just getting my head right. Like I think like non-family stuff, I love to golf. I'm not like obsessive with it. I enjoy it. I'm okay at it, but I do enjoy it a lot. It's a nice 4 to 6 hour little just getaway with the guys. But mostly it's like I'm kind of all family all the time. Other than that, and it's just for the most part, it's it's great. It's my wife and my two girls, so it's an emotional household. They're 10 and 14, but I love it. Like I think it's a great time in our lives right now to be able to go to sports games and just see them grow up. And so I really enjoy like going on trips with them and just spending as much time as possible, just knowing that and not too long, that that whole kind of spending a lot of time with them will be gone.
So those are more normal questions. I'm going to start throwing the weird questions at you. So if you want to hop off right away, don't blame you. But let's get to the unusual. So, pet peeves, quirks, weird talents. Quirks, what's something a little quirky that the girls in your house, your wife, your kids, somebody calls you out for, but it's who you are.
I'm very loud. I don't know if that's quirky or not, but like they're always telling
Well,
me to
just gonna
like.
say for those listening right now, we've turned down his volume severely in this just to save your ears, but no.
Right. I don't know. I guess quirky. I don't know. I don't know. Like, definitely, I have like I think a little bit of the Larry David syndrome, whatever. There are various weird things that either bother me or like I just bring it up in everyday life, but without thinking about each one of them, I don't even know what they are. They're just kind of like everyday life things.
Oh my God. Yeah, totally the same way. A huge Curb fan and Larry fan as well. Does anything come to mind, like just a random thing that you've seen around the house or in public that like you're just like, I gotta fix this?
Well, I don't really fix too many things. I'm not very handy as far as like
You notice things.
I noticed a lot of things. Yeah. We have way too many lights on in the house all the time. And I think that really bothers me. It's literally like Christmas vacation, but inside of our house all the time. And
That's fixable at least. It just takes a lot of time and effort, and yeah, definitely annoying. How about pet peeves? I mean, that really segues right into pet peeves. But besides like the little things around the house, is there anything in general that, and maybe it's like in work relationship or something else that you see often that just like kind of ticks you off a little bit?
it's such a random thing because I'm not like go American all the time, even though like I'm American and I love it, but it's a very strange. I hate when people don't take their hat off during the national anthem. I noticed this last night. I was at a game, my daughter's hoop game, and it bothers me. Like take your hat off, like have a little respect for it.
I was so close to doing this interview in a hat today. Good thing I didn't. And then weird talents. So what is something you're really, really good at? It could be anything. I won't let you say free throw shooting, but something that you're really, really good at, but it has no impact on your business.
Man, blindfolded free throws was going to be my answer.
Too easy. I mean, it's difficult, but too easy.
Like juggling, but that's stupid. Like I think most people or a lot of people can juggle
No, that's pretty. What kind of juggling do you do?
whatever's around. But if I see three of anything, I'll just
Chainsaws, flamethrowers.
yeah, any of that. I'm very unflexible. It's not really a talent, but it's like it's going to give me issues as I get older. I don't know. I love cigars. I like to. That's probably more in the unwind question. But yeah, I don't really have any hidden talents to be honest with you. I got nothing. I got nothing going.
You just rattled off a bunch of them. I'll give you credit for all of them, and I'm totally with you on the unflexible part. I've tried to get more flexible over years, but it's man, it's like if you can touch the toes, it's a big win. But holding it for a millisecond. So, all right, let's wrap up with some rapid fire Q&A. You ready for it?
Sure.
All right, let's get wild. What time do you wake up in the morning?
5:15.
And how do you do that?
Alarm.
Perfect. What is your best advice for getting better at free throws besides just spending like an ungodly amount of hours in the gym?
Focus, repeat, repetition, which is the same word, and belief.
It's really ironic that you repeated repetition. That's great. What is your favorite cocktail to make as a bartender?
Probably a tequila and Diet Pepsi.
Oh, what's that called?
The JK. I don't know.
JK, Justin Kittredge. Perfect. And then what is your advice for anyone who wants to get into a business that has any sort of mass customization in it?
Find your unique reason for being. Find your and find the way long term how you're going to scale.
That noise you made before, that sounded exactly like a tuba, so we're gonna have to keep that in. It's a little
I
tuba
love
sound
it.
effect. And then last thing, besides DJ Khaled, who is an athlete or celebrity or just someone that you've partnered with for ISlide that was kind of like a pinch me moment for you?
Someone that we actually partnered with was probably Isaiah Thomas. So probably IT, former Celtic, and he's just a guy that just kind of epitomizes never giving up, hard work, dedication.
IT. Yeah, I wasn't sure which IT you were going with at first, which Isaiah Thomas at first, but that makes sense with the Boston. I'm from Cleveland, a huge
The new
Cavs.
one.
Yeah, I'm right. Exactly. I'm from Cleveland, a huge Cavs fan, and IT had a stint on the Cavs as well. And yeah, I mean, one of the most powerful stories. And I still remember him on the Celtics when they wore those T-shirts that said "No Superstars." But so that's pretty cool. Cool one to partner with. Well, Justin, thank you so much. This has been just awesome, as you might say, and I'm totally guessing here, wicked awesome, and you could just yell at me for saying that. But love the ISlide story and everything from basketball, blindfolded basketball, and beyond. Thanks so much for coming on. And where's the best place for people to try ISlide and connect with you online?
ISlideUSA.com is great. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm the iSlide janitor on Instagram. Whatever you want.
Perfect. And last thing, final thoughts. It could be a quote, a line, a Yogi Bear-ism. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't wish that on you. Whatever you want, send us home here. Final thoughts, just kind of some words to live by.
I think that if anybody is out there ever thinking about starting their own business, the hardest part is that first step. And once you kind of feel like you have the right move, don't be the person that ever looks back on their life and never did it. Take that first step.
Take it or leave it, but definitely take it. Thank you so much, Justin, for coming on the podcast, sharing the ISlide story, which is slide-tacular. And thank you, wild listeners, for tuning in to another episode. If you want to hear more wild stories like this one, make sure to follow the Wild Business Growth Podcast on your favorite app and tell a friend about the podcast. And then try out iSlides with them, and then you could trade them. You can do like 1 foot of one and 1 foot of another design, and vice versa. You can also find us on Good Pods, where there are plenty of podcast recommendations and really cool podcast people. And for any help with podcast production, you can learn more at maxpodcasting.com and sign up for the Podcasting to the Max newsletter. That's at maxpodcasting.com/newsletter. Until next time, let your business run wild. Bring on the bongos!